We're the creators of the AADL TV show, Recipe Share, now in its 4th season, and we have some exciting news. We've created a cookbook. Our cookbook is titled, Thanks for Sharing, which includes recipes by all 3 of us, some of which you may have heard here on the show, and some that we have yet to share.
Our cookbook includes dozens of recipes ranging from breakfast to dinner, with snacks, appetizers, and desserts too. These are all our original recipes created by us or passed down in our families. We're so happy that we get to share them with you.
If you're interested in getting a free copy of our cookbook while supplies last, please email recipeshare@aadl.org with your name and the library you'd like to pick it up at. Thanks for Sharing is also available in Braille. Just let us know if you would like the Braille version. And feel free to email recipeshare@aadl.org if you have any questions. We hope you enjoy.
Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV, where we take a few minutes to share recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Say Cheese. I'm Beth, and I'm joined by Katie and Elizabeth to tell us about the recipe. So, Katie, what was your cheesy recipe this week?
All right, well, my recipe has a tiny bit of a backstory to it. So, our video editor, Ben, his mom had a bunch of old cookbooks that she was getting rid of. And so I took some off of their hands, and there was some really interesting stuff in there that I added to my old cookbook collection. So it's pretty exciting. But one of the neatest things that I found in there was this little booklet. It's called 50 Wonderful Ways to Use Cheese. And this was published by the Test Kitchen of the American Dairy Association. There is no publication date on here, but see if I can find it now. Of course, there's a little coupon inside here, and it's for reorder of a cheese board. And oh, here it is. So it's a $2 reorder coupon for your cheese board that you get from the American Dairy Association. And the coupon expired in 1966.
Oh,
So that will tell you how old this recipe is that I'm about to share with you. So that's exciting. The recipe is for cheese hamburger deluxe. And the recipe does sort of, it definitely, you need to have your hamburger made before you get into the whole recipe. So you pre-make your hamburgers. So I'm gonna include in the recipe that I share a little blurb, sort of recipe instructions of how we make my husband's awesome smash burgers here at home. They're really thin burgers, you smash them down. You only cook them for about a minute aside. But they go awesome in this recipe. They're so good. So I'm including that. So you can have make your burgers, and then you start making your cheese sauce. So you melt butter and blend in flour until that's smooth. And then you add milk in gradually, blend that all up until it's thickened. So you're heating it as you go. It's going to thicken up. Then you add shredded cheddar cheese, salt, cayenne pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. Stir all that up until it's blended, and then you make some toast. I used sourdough rye toast with this, which was just perfect. Put your toast on your plate, put on your ham. Oh, wait, I almost skipped a very important part because you're gonna add some more cheese. You put slices of Swiss cheese on your toast, and then you put on your hamburger, bacon, onion, and tomato. And then you pour the hot cheese all over top of the sandwich, and you top it with sliced green pimento olives. And it was just one of the funnest things I've eaten. It was so tasty and just enjoyable to eat. It looked like something out of a retro 60s diner meal that you would get. I have a picture here, but I just thought it was really neat. I actually sent this picture out to a couple of my friends after I made it, and they were like, yeah, That looks epic. It's just like something unusual that you don't really see these days. So it was very, very fun to make. And I think I would serve this to people. So I will probably make it again.
Well, that sounds pretty amazing. I didn't catch though, is it a full sandwich, 2 pieces of bread, or open faced?
Open faced.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks really neat, like a cheesy open faced sandwich.
Mm.
And you made your husband's smash burger like patty. It's a hamburger patty that you put on.
Yeah. I like the thin burgers, especially when you're going to throw a bunch of cheese on top.
That reminds me of this Instagram account that I love that I follow that's called Weird Old Food. And it's just pictures of like old recipes. This actually sounds delicious. Most of the ones on that account look strange, but I feel like the green pimento olives are like a classic old topping that they would just throw on everything. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That really, my mouth is watering. How many burgers do you eat when they're that thin?
2 usually.
Okay.
But I mean, you can go like Blimpie Burger style and just load them up, stack them on there if you wanted to, for sure. That'd be even better.
Love it.
Okay, well, Elizabeth, please tell us about your cheese recipe.
I will. Well, I was very excited for this one. I knew I would have no problems finding a recipe because I am obsessed with cheese. But I did want to try something new. So I recently got a new, I think it's, new summer cookbook from AADL. Salads are more than leaves. Salads to get excited about. And I didn't expect to find my cheese recipe in this because salads, but there is actually a whole section on cheese-based salads. And so salads being a loose term. So I ended up making halloumi and sesame salad. And it's kind of funny because in the intro, the cookbook writer says, "Is this a plate of cheese masquerading as a salad? Maybe, but who cares?" So you start by making your dressing, which is juice of 2 lemons and olive oil whisked together. That's the base. You're going to add more to it. Then you toast 4 tablespoons of sesame seeds, set them aside. And then you peel and finely chop a red onion and add it to the dressing. I use a shallot because red onion is a little much for me raw, even though it's going to get pickled a little in the dressing. I just use a shallot, smaller. And then you finely chop. This is a British cookbook, so everything's in grams, very confusing to me. But it says 75 grams of dried apricots, which is about 3 ounces. I don't know. I chopped a handful. It seemed fine. Finally chop them and add them to the dressing with the shallot. And then you finally chop half of a small bunch of mint leaves and add them into the dressing as well. And you grate in the zest of a lemon, add that in, a pinch of red pepper flakes, add that in. And then they said taste it and add a pinch of sugar if it needs it. I didn't, but I like my dressings very tangy, so you might need that. So then you grill your halloumi. You heat a frying pan over high heat. And then this was an interesting thing I'd never done before. Lay a piece of nonstick baking paper in the pan. And that kind of prevents the cheese from sticking. And then you kind of slice, the halloumi comes in little blocks. You slice it, you lay them in the hot griddle pan, and you cook for just a couple minutes on each side until they get browned. You didn't really need any oil or anything. That was really interesting to me. And then once they're done, you drizzle with a little honey in the pan. So almost done. The last ingredient is a red apple of any variety. You slice that into thin slices, and then you alternate the apple slices and the halloumi slices kind of along a plate. You top with the apricot salsa dressing, and then you finish it with sprinkling all the sesame seeds on top and some more mint leaves if you want. So it was actually really easy. That description was kind of long, but it was just some chopping, and then the halloumi was really easy to work with. And it was delicious. I loved the crispness of the apple with the softness of the cheese. I have a photo here of what it looks like. And then one thing that they did say was if you want this to seem more like a salad, add some arugula. So I did actually end up putting some lettuce on a plate and then like kind of scooping the salad onto that just for a little bit more greenery. And I have a photo of that too once it's on my plate with some greens. So it was good. It was definitely not flavors that I really eat often. The apricot mint situation is not some like super familiar to me. And I liked it. I don't know if it's going to go in my repertoire all the time just because I feel like I'm going to forget it. Like, I don't know. It just, one doesn't seem like it's going to stick in my head. But it was good and I'm glad I tried it. And, you know, certainly something that I might bring out again in a year if I need to make an interesting looking salad for an event or something like that.
Well, that sounds yummy. I have halloumi that I keep putting off making something with it. So that sounds, I don't think I have apricots, but wow. I love the fact that there's so many salads with cheese too.
I know I'm always more interested in making a salad when there's like a cheese component. I have to, so.
Yeah, that I feel like that recipe was like a wild ride. Like there was like it was taking unexpected turns like every time with the apricot and the mint. If you hadn't said sesame in the title, I would have been like, wait, whoa. And then you went with apples and I was like, what is happening? But this sounds good. Like it sounds all good together. Definitely not something I would have thought of creating, but definitely something I want to try. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely, you know, like I said, it was flavors that I would never have put together. So I always like when I'm forced to do that to kind of just get new tastes. So yeah. Okay, Beth, your turn.
All right. I don't know about you all, but sometimes when we come together we come up with our categories and I like see it and I go like, I'm going to share that, even though there's like a ton of things you can do with cheese. But what I'm sharing is something called a creamy mac and cheese, which is made with cabbage. And it came from this ketogenic cookbook, nutritious, low carb, high fat paleo meals to make you healthy. Something I didn't write it all down. And I don't know much about the keto diet. I just happened to grab it, but I've really enjoyed this creamy mac and cheese. Also, my husband isn't really into pasta much, so it's a really great alternative. So it takes 4 cups of thinly sliced cabbage, and I'm going to show a picture here of it cooked because I didn't really slice it very thin, and it's just fine. So I sliced it as thin as I could, but not real thin. You saute that in a half a stick of unsalted butter, or you can use coconut oil to make it more vegan. Well, that part would be vegan. I don't think you can make this cheese sauce veganly. So the cheese sauce is what's so yummy. And so that is another half stick of unsalted butter, like 3 tablespoons of cream cheese, and a 1/4 cup of vegetable broth, which I just use some vegetable bouillon, the Better Than Bouillon brand. Just did a quick little thing of that. So 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese and a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. So you make the cheese sauce by melting the butter, the cream cheese, the broth, stir constantly, then you add your cheeses, and for a garnish, you can add tomatoes, which I've done each time. Here's a picture of the finished product. And it's super simple. It's very tasty and it's like, I never would have thought of this combo with cabbage, but it's really good, you guys. It makes a great side dish, and it does well even the following day for leftovers. So if there are any, because the cheese sauce is insane. So anyway, that's what I made.
I've heard of this. I'm so glad. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just so excited because I've heard of this before and I've been like, no way. Like, no way that this is like as good as mac and cheese. but I'm so glad you tried it and that it's awesome. And that's great. I'll have to try it.
Especially, yeah, it's great. Gluten-free.
Gluten-free, people who don't care for pasta. I also really love the fact that you garnished it with tomatoes, because I used to do that when I was a kid and teenager and young 20s, when I was like, mac and cheese was a major staple of my diet. Would garnish it with tomatoes like all the time. So very cool. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Do you bake it, Beth? Or how do
No.
so you make the
You
cheese
just-
sauce and just pour it over the cabbage and just mix it together?
Yep. The other night I made it again just to make sure. And this time I put the cabbage on the plates and then poured it on, which, you know, it ended up just getting all over. We've made some mushroom like crab cakes. So that was a really nice meal, because then the cheese sauce went on the crab cakes, which weren't really crab, they were mushroom. So anyway, keep this in your repertoire, because when you get a ton of cabbage too, it's just like, and who doesn't love cheese sauce?
Yeah, I'm in disbelief, but I feel like I just have to try it because I
totally
trust
do.
you, and I can't believe it. But
I know it's wild, but that's why I wanted to share it. So if we don't have any other comments, I want to say thank you for watching Recipe Share. Be sure to click the link below to look at the events page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about, and share your own in the comments. Join us next time when our show will be baking. Comfort baking is what it is. And we look forward to see what you've been making. So thanks for sharing.
Recipe Share, Recipe Share, share.